Welcome to Right Fit Leader, a podcast from Alec Broadfoot and the Hire with Confidence team at VisionSpark. This is where visionaries, entrepreneurs, and leaders learn how to hire leaders, lead better, and build teams that last. Through expert insights, real client stories, and conversations with top leaders, you will hear how we find A players for your business. This is Right Fit Leader.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Right Fit Leader podcast. I'm your host today, Jennifer Young, client strategist with VisionSpark, and I'm joined by a very special guest, EOS Implementer Beth Berman. Beth Berman absolutely loves helping growth hacking leaders grow their businesses and get their lives back. A certified EOS implementer with over 350 sessions under her belt, Beth helps you get the results you want in a way that's more fun, more profitable, and more productive than you might have imagined. She helps her clients achieve massive growth, transition next-gen leaders, spurs growth, and have lucrative exits, up to 30 times revenue. Clients range from hardcore blue-collar teams to polished professionals. Her unique blend of coaching, facilitation, and enthusiasm enables your team to have long-needed, long-avoided conversations. You end up better off not just as professionals, but as better people and better teams. Beth makes hard work fun. Your people will actually look forward to your EOS session. Welcome, Beth. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You too. I got to ask about your beautiful location behind you. Where are you joining us from today?
So I am in Lewis, Delaware, just clouded over. This is my beach house and one of the settings where I sometimes hold sessions. I believe people should be comfortable and relaxed when they're working hard as well as having fun. So I host here, I host in Florida and West Palm Beach based, and it's all about the energy in the room and how easy it is to be there. So that's how
I love that. Well, if we didn't give people enough reasons to want to work with you as an implementer, that might be an added bonus. Those awesome EOS locations for meetings offsite with your clients. I love that. Really awesome. So please tell our listeners what type of companies you help as an EOS implementer and how do you help them?
Okay, so happy to. Of course, it's entrepreneurial companies with leaders who want to grow their companies, make their companies better, get unstuck, whatever it is that they're after, maybe more profit, maybe the impact they're making, but it's all about getting great results. And I work with, it's kind of a wide spectrum of clients that I work with. I have kind of a subspecialty in specialty medical practices, so orthodontists, dentists, optometry, multi-location businesses that are looking to grow or become their best or sell or whatever it is that they're looking for. I also I work in home services, both on the commercial and residential real estate side. So looking at working with, everything from commercial lighting design companies to event companies to, it really runs the gamut. Basically looking for the best mindset, which is they want it badly. They're ready to have let their hair down, get to the business at hand, but have real conversations and grow.
That's awesome. And I know you mentioned you have an EOS session location in Delaware and in Florida. Are those the two areas you primarily look for companies to work with? Do you work with companies in other areas? Tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Okay, so my focus over when I started, I was in the DC area and had many clients here, and in DC, Maryland, Virginia. My focus now is South Florida, and we have many a winter where clients are happy to travel, so they don't have to be based there. Nice. But we figure it out. But it's primarily South Florida.
Okay, great. And when business owners come to you, what what problems are they experiencing? What problems are you able to solve for them?
So it can be a bunch of different problems, but primarily it's kind of what I alluded to before, where maybe they're running the business, maybe they're bringing in all kinds of money, but it's running out the back door, so they aren't as profitable as they'd like to be. Maybe what got them here isn't going to get them there, and they know that whether it's the people, the systems, the approach, they know they need to do something different. They're stuck. Maybe they've tried everything and nothing stuck, that kind of a thing. But it can be, they need to unite, as in one case, a global company over oceans, and sales in one area, engineering in the other. It can really look different in each case. My favorite, though, are the transitions to next gen. So I work with a logistics company that focuses on event venues and luxury venues, and they do shipping, transportation, warehousing, event setup, solutions management, and they were transitioning to next gen. And prior generation, back of a napkin, lots of relationships. So we got that business systemized. The leaders, the descendants, the children of that visionary leader, they kind of were wide-eyed when they started and like, oh my God, it's ours now. What do we do? And now they are just the most effective, aligned leaders. And it's just wonderful to see that.
That is awesome. I would imagine that's also really helpful for companies that maybe are transitioning to even an exit as business owners.
Absolutely.
Starting to think about that. Companies are worth more money when business owners have those leaders on their teams that can just keep the business running without them after the sale.
100%.
Exciting that you can help in all those different areas. On this podcast, we do talk a lot about finding right fit leaders. So how does the business operating system EOS help business owners get the right people in the right seats? What have you seen?
So by get, I'm going to take that two ways. One is, how do they determine who is right person, right seat?
Yeah.
And then how do they get them? That's another. How do they actually bring them in? That's an ongoing challenge for most companies, but they can get really specific about how to apply defining them to getting the right ones. So it's basically in EOS and in my practice, we get very clear on right people, right seats, and we simplify the notion and make it a really objective conversation as to whether we have right people in the right seats. So right people fit our core values. So if you think about it, as an individual, you want to hang out with people like you. You want to hang out with people who have kind of the same value system. Same thing for a leadership team. So we get very clear on what our core values are, or what makes us tick, or the DNA of the company, and then determine, do these people actually exhibit these core values for our current people? Can they be coached up? Are they, great? Are they people who really fit, who are going to grow this business? We could clone them if we could.
Yeah.
And as we're looking at new people, there's certainly things we can do in recruiting to determine, are they really those kind of people? Now, right seats is about first defining the seat. So when we say a seat or a function or a job in a company, it's kind of all similar language, different words for the same thing.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about right seat is people who, as that job is defined, the accountabilities in that job are defined, the things that a person in that seat or that job is going to obsess about driving results towards. Do they get it, want it, and have the capacity to actually do that job? Get it? Are they hardwired to do that job? Like, naturally, this facilitation is something I'm definitely hardwired for. give me a financial analysis, and I'm not going to run that for you. I'm not going to do a pivot table.
No interest, right?
And it's the same with, with individuals in jobs. So are they hardwired to get it? Secondly, do they want it? Do they want to do that job? Not do they want a job, but do they want to do that particular job? Is it going to, float their boat? They don't have to be jumping out of bed every morning saying, yeah, I get to go. It's not that, but it's more a matter of they come to work every day knowing this is the work they want to do. And then finally, capacity. So capacity is, do they have the skills, the experience? Do they have the training? Do they have the mental capacity, the emotional capacity, sometimes the physical capacity to actually do the job? Yeah. So we look at that, and we look at, if they don't have it today, can they get there in time for when we need them to be proficient in a position? So if we're like elevating someone within an organization and maybe they don't have all of that training and experience yet, well, are we confident we can get them there in time for them to be highly functional and fully executing?
Yeah.
So that's right people, right seats. And you take all the objectivity and emotion out of it, and it makes all the difference in the world.
I love it. I'm a big believer in it. Even in our executive search, we feel pretty passionately. We work with a lot of companies running on EOS. We want to understand all of those things, right? What are the core values you want this person to align with? What is the culture they should fit in with? The personalities they need to complement? And then what is the job you need them to do? And then who is the human, right? What is the personality that can naturally do all of those things and fit in? It's not or, it's and, right?
Great synopsis. Great synopsis. Jen, any tricks for recruiting tricks to share?
So my biggest thing that I tell visionaries to do I think is the most important is really in the very beginning of clearly defining the role. If that role is not clearly defined, and then clearly defining the culture and core values you want the human to fit into, you're going to be advertising the wrong thing. You're going to be drawing in the wrong humans, and it's just going to create more work for you and a longer time to find somebody. So that's really the first step in our blueprint that we use to find right fit leaders. And a lot of times when business owners go through our process, at the end, they take some of what they learned from VisionSpark and implement it in their internal hires going forward. So it is a little bit of a free training they get when they work with on hiring. It's nice. They enjoy that. So I have to ask you, at a high level, we won't talk about any of the specific companies or names of the companies, but just in general, what are some leadership mistakes that you've seen people make over the years?
Generally, leadership mistakes are in the session room. Which would you like?
Yeah, I mean, in the session room is great. Talk a little bit about, somebody hires an EOS implementer. What are the mistakes that you see that they make as far as, maybe the ones that don't stick to it or that don't follow your direction as far as right people, right seats?
Okay. So the biggest mistake that I see as clients go through this EOS process is actually around people, because, in EOS, we strengthen 6 key components: vision, people, data, issues, process, traction. Yeah. But the linchpin, the real crux of it, if you don't have great people, you're never getting the company that you want. So not making people decisions. They'll do what we call the people analyzer. And they'll say, yeah, this person doesn't really meet the bar. They're not exhibiting our core values. We've tried to coach them up. Maybe they're fantastic at their jobs. They're afraid to lose them or place them in another situation, maybe refer them to another job. People that hold on to and won't make decisions when people changes are needed is the biggest problem.
Yeah, we see that too. I think it might even have been Gino that said 80% of all business issues are usually around that people component. So
Yeah.
it's a big issue, right? That business owners have to deal with. And I find visionaries have big hearts. They see the
Yes.
potential in people.
Yes.
So it sometimes enables them to hold on to people too long when all the data is saying this human is not naturally good at this role. Or doesn't align with the company's culture and core values. So it really is a struggle. It's nice when they have kind of a leadership team in place that can support them in those difficult decisions, especially integrators are really good at being supportive in that way. So can you tell us a story of a time that you knew in your gut, and again, we won't mention any company names,
Of course.
that you were seeing leaders who were not a good fit to work together. What does that look like and feel like when you just know it's not working?
Yeah. So I think the most interesting one is where the founder is the bottleneck and the founder is the problem. And I've had this in a couple of cases. If they won't allow the integrator, they're so mega visionary, or they're so driving that yes, they say I want growth, yes, they say I want to be better, yes, I want to increase valuation, whatever it is they're after, but they do what we call, they're like seagulls kind of dropping in. And seagull management, they've got to let go. And if they can't let go, then the relationship between the visionary and the integrator won't work. And, I've seen that be a situation where, as the EOS implementer, having a little coaching session or a same page meeting to help those visionary and integrator really understand their lanes, really understand what it means to get on the same page, to stay where they're doing their highest and best work so that they can drive the company towards greatness.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest values that you bring as an EOS implementer in a session room is really help navigating those difficult conversations, having that third party in the room that can, they're step removed from the situation, that they can view what's going on, that they can, kindly point out areas for improvement and help. I think that's what really helps these businesses. The ones that embrace it are the ones that really grow. They take it to the next level, which is amazing work that you all do as implementers.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a story about a leadership decision that you've seen people make that was able to take a company to a next level?
Sure. I'll go back to this company I'm thinking about that is a global company. The leadership team decision that they made was that they were each great. So engineering overseas, sales in the United States, DC area at the time. And they made the decision to move to a one team approach. They had been isolated, silos. Neither side appreciated the other. They weren't working together. And they did that at the inception of the journey, at the beginning of the EOS journey. In fact, in our first conversation, the visionary and I, he said, this is the one thing I want, which, alignment is key to EOS. Is we're always trying to achieve alignment and an aligned leadership team. We transformed that company into a true one team approach. They were in level 10s together as opposed to totally separate meetings with two heads once in a while talking.
Yeah.
They got on the same page and they chased the same goals and they executed on the same goals and rocks and desired future. And they are the company that had that enormously successful exit at 30 times revenue. And, I can't say I can promise that all around. It's
But
a
it's one for the
substantial
book.
size company and everything else, but the visionary really attributed it to EOS.
That's awesome.
And talk about satisfaction, feeling valued and feeling like you've done something great for the world. Imagine the impact of that on the business, on the people's lives, on the teams below them, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was just great.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Shows the importance of really a clear vision and the leadership team being on the same page. I love
100%.
that. So let's switch gears here for a minute. We've talked a lot about getting the right fit leaders in order to grow a business, but why is it important to have the right leaders in the right seats, especially when a business owner is preparing for sale or transition to the next generation? What have you found?
So it's especially important to have the right people in the right seats, but you actually alluded to it before. The leaders themselves, the visionary, the integrator, the number 1 and 2, or the 1, 2, however you want to define that.
Yeah.
When an acquiring company wants to buy a company, they are looking for a company that is turnkey, that is where they have the strength, where they're not dependent on the leaders, as you said. So having the right people in the right seats, the integrator, the heads of the functions all the way through, that ensures that in addition to the systemized business that's ticking, that things are running, processes are defined and followed and all that kind of stuff, they're having them in the right seats and being able to look at then the combined accountability chart. So we have a chart in company A, the acquirer, and we have an accountability chart in company T, target, let's say.
Yeah.
They have X number of slots. Sometimes in an acquisition, they're going to come over wholesale, but they look at their accountability chart and they defined the now combined accountability chart in many cases. They're integrating the companies and look at what are we actually buying here? Are these the right people that we can put in these seats? And it's often also a facilitated discussion to have that merger and acquisition fit really be managed to a way where it's so important for the acquiring company, it's so important for the acquired company, just to know that the end result is, again, right people, right seats, because without that, the rest really won't happen. You've got to have the right people.
It's so true. Really important. So now I know in the past, long ago, prior to your work as an EOS implementer, that you had done work in interviewing, hiring, all of that thing, extensive work. So what mistakes would you say that you see candidates make when they're trying to secure their next leadership role?
It kind of goes to right people, right seats. Because candidates will, typically they want a job. They're in a situation, maybe they're leaving, so they've maybe their position's been eliminated, maybe they're needing compensation, whatever the motivation is for it. The mistake that I find that they make, the key mistake, and then there are others along the way, is actually going for a job that they either aren't going to care about the mission of the company, or they're not going to be great at, because they're just thinking themselves. So it goes right back to right people, right seats. I also think that they need to be honest about their capabilities, and they need to, coming in with puffed up stories of the things they've done, maybe untrue stories, exaggerated, whatever. They need to be honest. It's going to catch them in the end. It's the same thing. If they really don't get it, want to have the capacity to do the job, they're not going to serve the company. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to actually succeed at that company.
Yeah, it's so true. I tell candidates all the time, when we're introducing them to all the roles that we're currently looking for, like, please only apply for the ones that you feel like you are a great fit for, that
Exactly.
you're reading about that culture and you're like, that's somewhere I want to work. That's a place I want to be. Those are the types of candidates that we want applying for roles.
Yes.
So really great insights on that. Beth, thank you so much for being here today, for all of your insight into what it means to have the right people in the right seats, the right fit leaders on a team. I just have to tell our listeners that I've been friends with Beth for a while. We work together on different initiatives. And if you want to get real traction in your business, hands down, you want results quickly, you want clarity on your vision, then if you are self-implementing EOS, you need to try to work with an EOS implementer instead, like Beth Berman. The difference of self-implementing and working with an EOS implementer, it's like the two are not even on the same page. It's a completely different experience. I've been on a leadership team that self-implemented. I've been on one that worked with an implementer, and it is not even the same experience. I can't speak to what Beth does enough as far as how much I would recommend her and the work that her and all the EOS implementers do for EOS Worldwide. So Beth, please tell our listeners, how do people work with, connect, and find you?
They can find me by giving me a call, 301-807-1990. They can text me. They can email me, beth.berman@EOS Worldwide, or they can go to EOS Worldwide and search Beth Berman.
Love it. Lots of different ways to connect. And I just want to thank our listeners for being here today. Thank you again. If our listeners need guidance on finding right fit leaders for your team, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, or visit our website, VisionSparkSearch.com, to request more information. And know that you are only one hiring strategy session away from taking your first step in finding your next right fit leader.
Thanks, Jen, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Right Fit Leader, brought to you by VisionSpark. Have questions or ready to hire your right fit leader? Email us at discover@vision-spark.com. Until next time, remember VisionSpark is your go-to partner for finding leaders and building teams.